Lots of people in our culture are what might be called knee-jerk relativists. That is, they on impulse kind of reject the idea that there is an objective morality, there are rules that apply to everybody. And the reason they do this on impulse is not because they deeply believe it. I don't really think there are any relativists around. Not real relativists, except for maybe sociopaths. But the reason that on impulse they do this is because this is what they pick up in their community, particularly in the academy, in the university. And professors across the board are going to be advancing this notion that you shouldn't push your morality on other people and you should be tolerant of other points of view and all of that. And so they kind of teach their relativism in the classes. Now you as a follower of Christ might take exception with that and might ask them questions about their relativism and justifying their relativism. And sometimes the response the professor gives is something like this. Well, oh, so you think that there are absolutes? Name them. Now it's kind of a trick. It's a trick in two ways, actually, because in the first case, you're not the one who's making the case for absolutes. He's rather the one making the case for relativism, and you're just asking him to defend his view. What he's done is he's switched the burden of proof onto you, asking you to name all the absolutes. And there's a big difference between holding that there are moral absolutes, or objective moral truths on the one hand, and be able to list every single one of them. And so it's a trap because if you can't list them all, then he's going to argue that you're not justified in believing in any. That's a mistake. That's the first trap that he's setting. The second trap is that if you start naming any particular absolute, he's going to find somebody who disagrees with it. And he's going to think that he made his case for relativism. Actually, if a professor were asking me, name one, I'd say, well, how about it's wrong to dock your pay because you're Jewish, or because you're an atheist, or because you're black, or because you believe that homosexuality is fine. In other words, find his hot button and push it. But the bigger problem is that when he looks for people who disagree with you to support his relativistic view, he's just importing his relativism into the situation. He's assuming that just because people have different points of view, that means nobody's point of view is correct. And of course, this is a mistaken reasoning. It could be that people differ, and one person is right and one person is wrong. You can't know whether there's a right or wrong answer just by looking at whether people differ or not. So if you're going to challenge some professor's relativism, be aware that he might set a trap for you. He might ask you to name them all, even though you're not advancing the case at that point, but you're not obliged to name them all in order to be justified in believing in some. And secondly, he might be asking you to defend objectivism, and then he's just going to give you an alternate view, pretending, assuming that just because he can show a disagreement in morality, that he's proven relativism when he hasn't. So keep your eye open for both of those traps.